Madam C.J. Walker, first black millionaire, 1867-1819, birthplace Delta, Louisiana. I am a woman who came from the cotton fields of the South. I was prompted from there to the washtub. Then I was promoted to the cook of the kitchen. And then I promoted myself into a business of manufacturing hair goods and preparations. I have built my own factory on my own ground. Madam C.J. Walker was born Sarah Breedlove, the daughter of former slaves. She married at age 14 and became Sarah McWilliams. Her husband died. Sarah moved to St. Louis, Missouri. There she became a washwoman and attended night school. During this time, Sarah's hair began to fall out, and nothing she tried would stop it. One night, Sarah had a dream. She dreamed about a cure for her hair loss. Later, she found the ingredients and mixed them together and tried the mixture on her hair. The formula was a success. Sarah started selling her new product door to door and eventually expanded her business to Denver, Colorado. There, in 1905, she married a newspaperman named Charles Walker. She began calling herself Madam C.J. Walker and has been known by that name ever since. Madam Walker became famous for her hair care products. She is best known for her inventing the pressing comb and a conditioner for straightening hair. At that time, black women thought having straight hair was more beautiful than hair left in its natural state. Today, many hairstyles have become acceptable, in a part because of Madam C.J. Walker's role in setting a standard for black beauty that has helped to raise the self-esteem of black women. In 1910, Madam C.J. Walker established a factory in Indianapolis where she employed 5,000 black women. An active community leader, Madam C.J. Walker also gave thousands of dollars to Tuskegee Institute and the NAACP and other black charities. She also helped establish the Mary McLeod Bethune School, known as Bethune-Cookman College in Daytona, Florida. Using her determination and energy, Madam C.J. Walker followed her dream to become America's first black female millionaire. When she died in her New York mansion, she left an estate valued at over $2 million. Madam C.J. Walker was a millionaire and a phenomenal entrepreneur. First black female millionaire, 1867-1919, Madam C.J. Walker. Shirley Chisholm, first black congresswoman, 1924-2005, birthplace Brooklyn, New York. Your time is now, my sisters. New goals, new priorities, not only for this country, but for all mankind must be set. Shirley St. Hill's parents left Barbados hoping to make a better life for themselves in the United States. But in the 1920s, making a good living was a difficult task for Afro-American people. So Shirley's parents sent their 3 daughters back to Barbados to live with their grandmother. Shirley, the eldest, was 3 years old. When she was 9, Shirley and her sisters returned to the United States to live with their parents. An outspoken child, Shirley excelled in her Brooklyn school, just as she had in Barbados. Shirley's first exposure to politics came when she was a student at Brooklyn College. There, she heard many white politicians speak. An unflattering comment about black leadership from one such politician fired Shirley's desire to prove to America that Afro-Americans are as capable of leadership as anyone else. After graduating with a degree in education, Shirley taught at a nursery school while she took courses at Columbia University toward her master's degree. During that time, she met and married Conroy Chisholm, a Jamaican private investigator. Ever concerned about the people of Brooklyn, Shirley set up a daycare center for the working mothers. The centers were so successful that Brooklyn residents chose Shirley to represent them to the New York State Legislature in 1964. Then, in 1968, Shirley was chosen to represent the United States Congress. She became the first Afro-American congresswoman and served for several terms from 1968 to 1982. Shirley was not afraid to voice her opinions in Washington. She wanted the poor people of the United States to have good lives. She wanted equality for all. Not only the first person to have power in this area to achieve the goals as the President of the United States. So, in 1972, Shirley decided to run for president and campaigned to win the Democratic Party nomination. Shirley lost the nomination, but she established another first for Black America and was the first for the Afro-American woman to run for president. Shirley Chisholm, 1924 to 2005, first Black Congresswoman. Phyllis Wheatley, a poet for her times, 1753 to 1784. Her birthplace was Senegal, West Africa. Phyllis Wheatley was only 8 years old when she was taken from her parents in Africa and brought to America. She would never forget her family, her homeland, or her trip on the horrible ship. But Phyllis was more fortunate than many others. She was bought by John Wheatley, a northern white merchant, and when even she had to do what everybody else had to do, she was treated very well. The Wheatleys soon realized that Phyllis was a very special child. Unlike most who wanted to keep their slaves illiterate, the Wheatleys taught Phyllis to read and write. After only 16 months in America, Phyllis was able to read and write the most difficult parts of the Bible. By the time she was 14, she had written her first poem. So many people began to read her poetry. One of her poems, which was dedicated to George Washington, brought her much attention. Then, when Phyllis was 20, she took ill. So the Wheatleys freed her and sent her to England to a better life. While she was there, a London publishing company printed her first volume of her poems and various other subjects, religious and moral. Phyllis returned to America to nurse John Wheatley's wife and then the rest of the John Wheatley family who became ill over the years. Phyllis later married John Peters, a freedman. He wound up in a debtor's prison, but not before he had stolen her manuscript of her second book, which was never published. Phyllis was forced to do hard work and worked very hard in a boarding house. She took ill and she died at the very, very young age of 31. And although her life was very short, Phyllis Wheatley will always be remembered as one of America's most outstanding Afro-American poets. Phyllis Wheatley, a poet of her times. Wilma Rudolph, Beauty in Motion, 1940 to 1995. Her birthplace was Clarksville, Tennessee. Wilma said, "I would be very disappointed if I were only remembered as a runner, because I feel that my contribution to the youth of America has far exceeded the women who were in the Olympic champion. The challenge is still there." The effects of scarlet fever and polio left Wilma Rudolph crippled at the age of 4. She had to wear a brace on her left leg, but Wilma was determined to walk and to run again without her brace. Her large family, which included 22 children, helped her and encouraged her efforts. By the time she was 8, Wilma no longer needed her brace. And by the time she was 11, Wilma was finally able to run and play like all other children. Wilma never liked to lose. She always tried very hard to be a winner. And her determination usually led to her success. Always involved in sports, she won many races in high school. And she was also a star basketball player. In 1956, she scored 803 points during one season. Because of her outstanding athletic ability, Tennessee State University gave Wilma a scholarship to run on their track team. In July of 1960, the year of the Olympics, Wilma set the world record for 200 meters. Several months later, at the Olympics in Rome, Italy, she became the first woman ever to win 3 gold medals in track. Her accomplishments earned her the reputation of being the fastest woman runner in the world. That year, the news media honored Wilma by making her the Athlete of the Year. But when Wilma returned home from the Olympics, she turned her energy to a more sensitive issue. When her town tried to put on a parade in Wilma's honor, she told them that she would not attend a parade that would be segregated. Well, her town complied with her request, and the parade was open to all. Wilma had broken through another barrier. Wilma Rudolph's concern for her people did not stop there. She credited with promoting the interest in sports among young women. Olympic coach Neil Jackson said, "Wilma's accomplishments opened up the real door for women in track because of her grace and because of her beauty." Wilma Rudolph, Beauty in Motion, 1940-1995. How exciting to have known you, Wilma. The challenge is still there. Wilma Rudolph. Maxine Waters, California power broker. She was born in 1939. And if you watch the news these days, you'll see her there at the White House, leading the fight in the presidential elections and the transition of power. Some people say I'm feisty. Some people say I'm tough and combative. In the community where I'm from, the community of survival, those are considered to be good qualities. Maxine was born in St. Louis, Missouri. She is the fifth of 13 children. Raised in a single-family home, life for young Maxine was full of ups and downs, welfare assistance, and ongoing struggles to make ends meet. In addition to these hardships, Maxine was constantly compared to the three older sisters, whom everyone thought were much prettier. But instead of making Maxine inferior, the hurtful comparisons only served to make her stronger and make her become a high achiever. Fortunately, she sought a lot of support in school. She was often chosen to represent her class and her school in various events, so it was natural and fitting for a classmate to predict that Maxine's senior yearbook that she would one day be the Speaker of the United States House of Representatives. After high school, however, Maxine immediately got married and had 2 children. 5 years later, she found herself in Los Angeles, broke. Her husband found work in a factory, and Maxine labored to care for the children in a garment district. Then, in 1966, a friend told her about a federal program called Head Start. Maxine started there as a teaching assistant, but quickly discovered she worked better with the parents than with the children. That was the beginning of Maxine's activism and the start of her political career. She found that she enjoyed helping people and that she had a natural talent for politics. She went back to college, divorced her husband, and worked as a political volunteer, which led to the other paid political positions. In 1976, Maxine ran for the state assembly and won. For 14 years, she represented the 48th district in the South Central Los Angeles and considered one of the most effective Afro-Americans in the California political arena. In November of 1990, Maxine was elected to the United States House of Representatives, representing the state of California. She now had the opportunity to make that yearbook inscription come true. Maxine Waters, California Power Broker, United States House of Representatives for the state of California. Congratulations, Maxine. The Essence Woman, Susan Taylor, 1946, birthplace, New York, New York. Our parents and the preceding generations of African people did not allow their fears to doubt or immobilize them. They took action. All they need, all our people need, begins with you and me. Get organized. Get busy. We must move forward. We haven't come this far to not go the distance. Susan Taylor, actress, wife, mother, cosmetologist, editor-in-chief, Essence Magazine, vice president, Essence Communications Incorporated, There are those roles that Susan Taylor has played and continues to play with intelligence, vitality, and sensitivity. In the 1960s, Susan was an actress with the Negro Assembly Company, pursuing a demanding career. Her daughter's birth in 1969 made Susan realize that she would have to divert time away from her demanding career to take care of her child. So Susan went into business. She became a licensed beautician and created her own line of cosmetics. The success of her cosmetic company and Susan's expertise in cosmetology came to the attention of the editors of Essence magazine. In 1970, she began working for Essence as a freelance writer. By 1971, Essence asked Susan to be their beauty editor, and by 1972, she supervised both the fashion and the beauty departments. Hard work and discipline characterized both of Susan's fashion and beauty departments. Hard work and discipline also typified her performance as Essence magazine's beauty and fashion editor. In the spirit, one of her responsibilities at that position is writing a monthly editorial called In the Spirit. Through her editorials, she used her position of writing the monthly editorials to promote positive images of Black women and share her thoughts on those values she holds to be important. Susan was able to use her strengths as a set of positive course for her life and the life of other women. She committed to helping the poor, women in prison, teenage mothers to do the same. In recognition of her outstanding performance as editor-in-chief of Essence magazine, Susan received many awards and accolades, including the Women in Communications Matrix Award and an honorary doctorate degree of Humane Letters from Lincoln University, 1988. In 1986, Susan became the vice president of Essence Magazine Communications. She is also the author of In the Spirit, a collection of inspirational essays. Again, Susan Taylor, the editor-in-chief of Essence magazine. Betsy Coleman, 1926, birthplace Atlanta, Texas. If I can create the minimum of my plans and desires, there will have been no regrets. When Betsy was 7 years old, her father, who was part African and part Native American, returned to Oklahoma, the Indian Territory, leaving her mother to raise the family alone. As a result, Betsy's life as a child was hard. She picked cotton and she helped her mother do laundry to make enough money for ends to meet the family expenses. Unable to find a satisfactory job after her graduation from high school, Betsy left Texas and joined her brother in Chicago to make a better life for herself. There, she trained as a manicurist and took a job at a barbershop. She still was not satisfied with her life. Betsy became interested in flying airplanes and tried to enroll in aviation school. But because she was Afro-American and a woman, she was turned down. She sought the advice of a friend, a newspaper editor, Robert Abbott, who told Betsy she could go to flying school in Europe, where she would be able to not face as much prejudice. With his help, Betsy studied French and saved her money and sailed to France. After making 2 trips to Europe and studying with French and German aviators, Betsy became the first black woman in the world to receive an international pilot's license. Upon her return to Chicago, Betsy started her new career, exhibition flying. Her first show was in 1922 at Chicago's Becker Field. Crowds and spectators turned out to witness the stunts of the brave 29-year-old Afro-American female. Betsy did not disappoint them. Her plane dipped and twirled and made loops and figure eight all over the sky, and the audience was absolutely thrilled. Betsy continued to perform in air shows all across the country for the next 4 years. After seeing her, many young Afro-American women were eager to learn how to fly. Many contacted Betsy for help. Betsy dreamed of having her own flying school for Afro-Americans one day and began planning for it. However, she died in an airplane crash doing a test flight before that dream could ever be realized. Betsy would be pleased to know that an organization of young black pilots had been named in her honor. The goal of the Betsy Coleman Aviation School was to bring the thrill of flight to all Afro-American women and others who were interested in aviation and aerospace. Betsy Coleman, 1893 to 1926. Jane C. Wright, Cancer Research Specialist. Birthplace, New York, New York. There is a deep satisfaction in knowing you are a part of a continuing process and program that you have picked up where others have left off, and that others will pick up where you have left off. As a little girl, Jane C. Wright had big footsteps to follow. Her father, Louis Tompkins Wright, was one of the country's outstanding surgeons and medical researchers. He was also an important force in the civil rights movement and served as chairman of the National Board of Directors of the NAACP. Sometimes having a famous parent as a child is difficult. This was not the case for Jane. Her father's outstanding career was an inspiration to her, and she was motivated to excel. She wanted to be just like her dad. 3 years after graduating from New York Medical College in 1945, Jane joined the Harlem Hospital Cancer Research Foundation, which her father had founded. There, she worked as a clinician. And after her father's death in 1952, Jane succeeded him as the director of the foundation. She concentrated her efforts on research and studying the effects of chemotherapy on tumors and other abnormal growths. In 1955, Jane was named the Director of Cancer Chemotherapy and Adjunct Associate Professor of Research Surgery at the New York University School of Medicine. Then, in 1967, she was appointed Associate Dean and Professor of Surgery at New York Medical College, the highest position ever held by an Afro-American woman in the medical administration. Jane published 124 scientific papers and has written chapters for 9 textbooks in cancer research. In 1975, the Association for Cancer Research honored Jane for her important contribution to research and clinical cancer chemotherapy. Although Jane is retired, she is still active. She is the professor of surgery at New York Medical College. In 1983, Jane was featured in the Smithsonian Institute series entitled Black Women: Achievements Against All Odds. She is currently compiling papers about her work and a collection at Smith College. Like her father, Jane has become a role model for other young African American scientists and doctors. What a pleasure to know her. Jane C. Wright, Cancer Research Specialist, New York, New York. Again, there is deep satisfaction in knowing that you are a part of a continuing process and program, and that you have been picked by others to lead off, and others will continue to pick up where you have left off. Jane C. Wright, another special, outstanding Afro-American female.